Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Bushnell. I'm from enable.services, for those who don't know. So enable.services, we're a family-based company based in Ipswich, East Anglia, and we've been dealing with Sugar CRM since 2004, so about 21 years now. And we implement, configure, and develop Sugar CRM for most companies in the UK, to be honest with you. So I'm joined today with my lovely colleague, Nord. Nord, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, I will. I think I started there when you said lovely colleague, but I'll
I,
try
I, I
again.
was going to be like Debbie McGee kind of thing for the people who actually realise what that is. And that meant I'll Paul Daniels, so I'll stop there.
I'm Nord. And like Joe said, I work at enable Services alongside with Joe. And I've been here for six years.
Yeah.
I think I think I know it's been 6 years, but
So between us, we've got about 27 years of sugar experience between us. So we kind of know the system quite well. And today we're going to be speaking about Sugar Studio and configuration and understanding where the benefits are of obviously Sugar Studio and the configuration and how that can actually help you internally speed up maybe a process of obviously going from an idea to actually reality in the system, but also best practices and just ins and outs of the studio itself. So we're going to be going through that. So some people will go, what are you talking about when you talk about Sugar Studio? Sugar Studio, when we say studio, it's kind of the configuration part of Sugar CRM. And for administrators of the system, so you have to be an admin user of the system. If you're not an admin user, you won't be able to get to this area. But if you're an admin user, it kind of gives you the power to tailor Sugar, the platform, to suit your business needs and processes without need for kind of extensive coding, or people use this kind of no code, low code kind of scenario. And it's kind of that kind of area, what allows us to kind of change the layouts, the aspects and everything else of Sugar. Anything to add there, Nord?
no, I think you kind of nailed it on the head there. Again, it's really emphasizing the low code, no code.
Hard
Um,
saying that.
It is really hard to say. Um, Customization wise, because it does allow you to modify the system to your business needs a lot more simpler rather than waiting for an external party or getting someone else to do it, rather than when you can just do it within a matter of a couple of seconds, really.
Yeah. So some of the purposes of Sugar Studio, configuration of the modules themselves, and that's adding to the existing modules, but also creating new ones as well. Field management, so adding new fields, the way that they interact with other fields, layout control, how you see the system, how your users between roles see the system, or between drop downs, relationships, how relationships between modules work. So when I'm talking about there, I'm talking about one to one, one to many to many relationships. So for instance, one where many contacts against one account, for instance, that kind of relationships. Business logic as well, just dependencies, visibility controls, things like that. And also, like I said, role specific views. So we're going to be going through that kind of area. Today, I'm going to be showing my screen. But like I said, as a user of the system and a admin user, it's the benefits you get out of Studio. And that is, yes, we want you to come to enable every time, but we want you to be able to do it yourself, because that's the reason you would never buy a car if you couldn't get in, couldn't open up the bonnet and actually do something, or do something yourself. This is the same with this system here. Okay, so let me share my screen and we'll going into the system. So hopefully, if I press the right button, everyone can now see my sugar system, my demo sugar system.
Yeah.
And Nord, can you just give me a yay or a nay there, just to make sure
Yeah.
I'm not
No.
going mad? Perfect. Cool. That's always a good sign. So Sugar CRM. Obviously, this is Sugar. This is the new version 25 for those who may be on the existing systems. Hopefully, you're not and you've upgraded to 25 or getting there now. The top right, where your profile kind of view is, we're logged in as Jim at the moment. You'll see if we click on Jim, you'll see this place called admin for those who don't know where it is. And if you cannot see this, it's because you're not an administrator of the system. And you just need to go and ask someone for administration access if you have that authority. So if we click on admin, the parts where we're going to be looking at today is this part here called developer tools. And it's like I said, some of the benefits of this area is enhanced flexibility, improved user adoption, because you can get the system to actually get rid of the nonsense fields that don't need to be there, show the fields that do need to be there, faster time to value. Yes, we can help you and support you, but you can do this yourself so you can obviously get implemented faster. And also data quality, changing layouts, changing everything so it looks right, and scalability. So, right, so this developer tools area, let's crack on here. So, Lord, can you just explain each of these parts for us so that we know what the developer tools area is and we can go through this?
Yeah, so within the developer tools section, it's basically all about system customization and anything in the back end. So your first option is Studio, which this webinar is mainly about. And this is where you go to create your fields, you modify layouts, you build relationships, anything like that. The next two one below that, Module Builder, Package Builder, and Deployer. Module Builder allows you to build new modules within Sugar. So like your accounts module, your contacts, everything like that. You're able to build your own module, whatever matches your business. And then Package Builder and Deployer allows you to pack up any modules that could be for layouts, dashboards, or anything like that. And then you can receive a .zip file and you can export those out into another system. So if you have a staging system, for example, or a sandbox, and you've done some modifications and you want to push those to your live system, you can use the package builder and deployer to push out a zip of those changes and upload it to your system, and it does it all in one big go. The next one is configuring the shortcut bar. So as you see on the left-hand side, I'm pretty sure, please correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but is the shortcut bar that quick create?
Yeah, it's kind of the quick rate and yeah, other aspects of that, yeah. But you are right, yeah.
Perfect. So that allows you to modify any quick create. So you can see on the left-hand side there's a plus sign under the home button. Here, if Joe clicks onto the plus sign for me,
Oh, yeah, I can actually press it. Okay.
you can see here we're able to quick create any account record, contact, case, opportunity. So you're able to select which modules you want to appear in that quick create for you. Um, the next one's API platforms. I'll be real, I'm not a developer, so I don't really go into this section. But if you
Yeah, I
have
was going to
any,
say, this is kind of a part that if you're an admin of Sugar, be careful of going into that bit there. It's kind of a get that is. So we're doing Halloween is like going to be our next webinar and scary things inside Sugar, and this may be one of those scary things on our next webinar. So no doubt we'll be covering things like reporting and roles and things like this, but this could be another one. So yeah, next webinar that'll be covered.
yeah, speaking of that as well, as Joseph, our next webinar is scary things. If you have any ideas that you want us to show that maybe you find scary in Sugar, I say scary, loose words, it's a program, but
It's Halloween. We're saying
yeah,
scary. Yeah.
anything that you maybe find daunting to go into Sugar or mess around with in Sugar, let us know. You can email marketing@enable.services, and then we can go through it on our next Halloween webinar.
Or just put it on the chat, because Emily is on the chat. She'll log it down and we can cover that. So yeah, drop down editor. We're on next.
Perfect. And then I'll just quickly speed run through the other options. Drop down editor, any drop downs that you have, like for country, for example, if you go into drop down editor, you can edit those values. Relate field denormalization. Again, I don't know what that does. I have never really used it.
It's more database structure. Yeah, it's more database rather
More of a
than
dev thing.
configuration. Yeah.
I want it because we're in DevTools. Rename tabs. So this allows you to rename your modules and what they're called. So for example, let's say if you don't use leads, but you have inquiries, you can rename the leads module to inquiries, or the cases module to inquiries or anything like that.
Will
Um,
be one we go to today.
Perfect. And then navigation bar and subpanels. That allows you to change the order of your modules on the left-hand side of that nav bar and also change the order of subpanels. You can also hide modules and hide subpanels here as well. That is system-wide. So any changes you make in that section will affect all users, but then they can also change their own views in the profile section. But if you hide a module in that admin control, users won't be able to actually see that module. So that
Yeah,
is a global setting. Next is module loader. So again, if you get any third-party add-ons from us, for
such as
example,
us. Yeah.
or Sugar Outfitters, or again, if you're using that package builder and deployer, module loader is where you would upload that zip file, and then you would click install, and then it will install it on your system. The one below that is Sugar Portal. Depending on your Sugar license, I'm pretty sure Serve and Enterprise, you get access to the Sugar Portal, which is a self-serve portal for support cases and knowledge based on your system.
No, Star Lab is if you wanted to change the colors of sugar. If you had Enterprise, for instance, you'd be able to do this because you'd be able to back end code. Unfortunately, Cell and Serve, you wouldn't be able to get into back end code to do Star Lab. But with Enterprise, you'd be able to, if you can get to the back end code, you'd be able to change the blue to green if you wanted to, or your themes. Um, and then we have workflow management, what is simply a workflow management tool, the old school workflow tool. So legacy kind of workflow manager, and then Sugar Outfitters. As I say, it's actually even not called Sugar Outfitters anymore, is it? It's called Sugar.
Sugar
What's it now called?
Marketplace.
Sugar Marketplace. Yeah. So they haven't updated it in Sugar. No, it's Sugar 25. Come on, Sugar. Change terminology. So based on that change of terminology, how would we change terminology? Because that is one of the biggest things with Sugar is I don't call accounts I call them customers. I call it companies. I call organizations. I don't call leads. I call them prospects, inquiries. So rename tabs is a big one when we're coming into a system because we want the users to feel at home in the system. So you can see that on the left-hand side, these are the default values of SugarCRM. These are the default module names of Sugar. And you can see that we've got the ability as an admin to change the naming convention of each of those kind of areas. And I apologize, my phone has decided to ignore the ability to have do not disturb and wants to try and make a phone call. So I apologize straight away there. So the terminologies can be changed to what you want them to be. Also, we can change icons or have abbreviations at the same time. So we wanted to have an abbreviation, you can change. So over here on the left-hand side where we see our icons, we can change it to either be icons or be an abbreviation. And also color coding, again, you'll see the colors coming out. We can change the colors. Be aware that when we're making studio changes such as this or anything, when we save and deploy, it save and deploys the entire system. So everyone gets that. So if they're in the middle of something like updating a quote, for example, and you go and make a change, it will force a refresh in their system. So it will force a refresh, so it will lose their saved work. So you have to be careful when you do your saves and make sure that you're not going to cause user disruption by doing a change of some kind. Okay, so just be aware when we're showing you these and we're playing on a not on a demo at the moment, but if you're on your live system or in a system of any kind, just be aware of the users and when you're doing this. Okay, right. So anything to add here, Nord? I've seen one thing I've just missed straight away. Go ahead though.
I think the only thing I would add, just adding on to what you just said previously, I think that's why that package deployer and builder is good for you to make changes on a whole other system where live users aren't inputting data. You can do changes on that, export them out, and then let's say during like maybe a lunchtime or a planned set time that you maybe want to do upgrades to your system, install that package to push all those changes. So then you're not doing multiple saves and causing multiple refreshes.
Yeah, you also got about 52 different languages in Sugar. So you can change the terminology here for every single language in the system over here. Okay. So it's not just we're talking about English, we're talking about if we were doing French or anything else or Dutch, you can see I can just change it. It's going to change my list views to what that would be in the local language. And I can obviously change it to what I want it to be. So we can pick and choose what it is. It's really quite powerful because users adopt something what looks familiar. So if you can get the wording convention right, that they don't feel that they're coming away from something what they used, it's always a good thing. Okay. So that is relaying tabs, what we're spinning, okay? Okay. So like Nord said, the main area of Studio and developer tools is Studio. Sorry, the main area of developer tools is Studio, not the other way around. And that's where we're going to be playing mostly today is Studio. So when we click on Studio, what we see on the left-hand side is all of the modules. Every module in the system, you'll see in the kind of a body, we also see the same modules, so we can use both ways. I personally use this tree over here because I find it easier, but you can go either way. So if I clicked on accounts, it's going to be the same kind of area of clicking on this, but opens up kind of the options underneath. Okay, but I'll go my way because I just find it a little bit easier to explain quickly. Okay, so. You'll see on the left-hand side that we have the modules of this system, and you can see each of the modules on the left-hand side, like I said. And we have different options here. Again, you'll see I'm just opening up everything. You wouldn't normally do this, but I'm just opening up everything so you can see everything in one view. Okay, so terminology. We just said about renaming the terminology of the modules themselves. These ones down here, the modules is in accounts, opportunities, leads. You'll see that we also have labels. So we can rename the labels inside Sugar. So even if you had, I don't know which one, but if even you had a existing field status, for instance, and you wanted to call it something else, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but you wanted to call it a different terminology, you can change the terminology of all the labels in the system. So the users are not just thinking about the terminology here, they're also, when they're actually in the actual list views or in the detailed views of Sugar, they can also change the actual wording to meet their 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 common phrases. Let's put it that way. Okay, and again, you can see multiple different languages. So again, we can go into the particular language that you're changing. Okay. And you'll see save and deploy. This is the part I was talking about, is that if you want to save and deploy, it is going to deploy. That means it's going to do a force refresh to everyone in the system, knocking them out of what they're currently doing. So be careful when that save and deploys, okay? You can see we can also change a module name here. So even if we're not in that terminology right at the beginning, we can go in and change accounts if we wanted to at this point as well by clicking on this field here. On the right-hand side, you'll see frequently used labels, but if one of your labels is not there, you can go all labels and it will show everything in the system, and you can see everything then shows up, and you can see maybe custom, maybe system labels, etc., in the system, and you can go in and obviously change those as well. Okay. Okay, fields themselves. Do you want to go through fields quickly, Nord? Give me
Yeah.
a description of fields.
Yeah, so as you can see, Joe has gone into account fields. We can tell this by, again, he's using the left-hand side by going into accounts and then fields, but we can also see the breadcrumb trail above the add field button, where we've gone from studio into accounts into fields. So those are good ways to track where you are. Again, if you get into studio and you spend hours in there, you could lose track. So the breadcrumbs is a really nice feature. As you can see here, we have a list of all the fields that are currently in the accounts module. So name is the database name. As you can see, it has strict requirements for that. It doesn't do capital letters, it doesn't do spaces, it replaces spaces with underscores, and everything like that. That's because that is the value that saves onto the database that the system looks at. The display label is a converted name from the database name to what you see on the front end. So as you can say, name is back end, display label is front end. And then we also have type. So within Sugar, there's multiple different types of fields. As you see from this list, we have name, date and time, text area, phone, drop down, relationship, everything like that. So depending on what type of field you would want, it will depend on the type. Let's say if you're doing a value field and it's going to be numeric for money, you would use am I wrong? A currency field? It is
Yeah,
currency field. So then it will have the correct, I forgot what it's called now. Is it currency symbol? It's
yeah,
currency
correct
symbol.
currency fit.
It
Yeah,
is currency symbol.
perfect.
I keep doubting myself. Okay,
Yeah.
well, for example, like that. But then if you're using a description field, you might want to use a text area rather than a text field because a text area is a more of a bigger block, while a text field is just one singular column. And if you're inputting a lot of data for a description, you would rather have that big text area block.
Yeah, there's about 20 different types of field types inside of Sugar, not including calculated fields, auto increment, and things like tags. There's about 20 different types that you can create inside of Sugar. So you've probably got more than most. Let's put it that way. And that's one of the beauties about Sugar is the configuration, the ability to configure not only default fields such as these, but also new fields. So if I wanted to, one of the ones what comes up is industry. So if we go and look for industry, because lots of people get Sugar and they go, actually, I want to change the industry list, the drop down list. So you can see that I've just gone into the industry field. This is a drop down field. You can see again the database name, what Norm's saying. I can change the display name if I wanted to. I can give it comment text or help text to help my users. But you can see it's looking at the drop down list called industry DOM, and this is my drop down list here. But you can see I've got edit or add, and if I edit the list, I come into my drop down list. And there I can either remove existing ones or at the bottom, add new ones. And if I wanted to add a new one, let's think about this. Let's go for look for something that's not there. Anything what I can think of. Let's go sports because I can't think of anything else sports. So you can see I can go add to sports. Well, I'll move it if I wanted to into the right area or move it where it needs to be. I can also sort as well, ascending and descending up the top here. And I can also choose maybe what drop down this particular roles, as in people, have in common to use. Okay. And I can again save my list and male sports will be in my drop down list. That's a simple kind of configuration of an existing list inside Sugar. So if I had an existing drop down list, I can simply go into the field itself, click on the edit button here, and it will take me into that kind of view where we just were, where I can edit my drop down lists and add new ones or remove old ones. If I remove an old one and the date and it's been used in the past, um, it's it's obviously not it's not going to delete it from the view, but when I go to resave it, it's going to remove that view, isn't it? Not remove
Yeah,
it from reports.
it
You've got
removes
to be
it
a bit
from the
careful.
view because there's no display label anymore. But if you accidentally removed the entry, you could re-add the entry again how it was before, it word for word, and the information will display again because it doesn't delete the information from the database. It
Yeah,
only deletes it from the front view, but that information is still there in the database.
yeah,
I think a lot of people may not know that because once they delete, they think it's just fully gone. I think as well with drop downs, great example by the way, Joe. I think if you're creating a new field that is a drop down, when it comes to the drop down list, you have to click add rather than edit. So then it creates a new drop down list for that field, and then you can import your values. A lot of people click edit and it takes them to their most recent drop down list that they viewed, and then they start making changes. That unfortunately is an issue. So you always have to click add when it's a new field. If you're editing a field that you created, then you would click edit. But again, new drop down, you have to click add to create that new list view.
yeah. One of the things is they want they look at this dependent, and this is very much on the user adoption again, is showing the fields at the right time to the users, not only about the terminology, but maybe they don't need to see industry unless they're a customer. Yeah. So if they're a customer, I want to see industry. So all I do here is I go dependent and say it's dependent on a parent drop down, or maybe it's a formula. Maybe I've got a formula that I'm saying that if it's If turnover is greater than XYZ, show my industry field, for instance, and you could set up a formula. But we're going to do a parent drop down. If I click parent drop down, it opens up my what other drop downs I have in the system, and you'll see that I have type here, service level, and send NDA. I'm going to use type in my aspect. And if I click on this, edit visibility comes in, and this opens up kind of a visibility grid of why, at what point do I want to show this drop down? Do I want it when they're an analyst, when type is analyst? No, I want it when customer. So you can see that I can simply just drag over the fields that I want to show when someone's customer. What you'll notice here that I could have one drop down list, but say, well, if they're an investor, they see these options. If they're a reseller, they see these options. So you can really pick and choose. That one drop-down list can, if you have a dependent, it can actually be quite powerful because you may have I don't know, a dependent and you just want to know the next step. And that could be product. What products are they interested in? Because they're buying this product, these are my options. Because they're buying this product, these are my options. But it's all in one drop-down list, and you can just pick and choose what that list is going to show, and then that's going to appear upon obviously either being customer, investor, or reseller in the system. So if I press save, and if I save in a minute, you'll see what I mean by this. Okay. I'll just quickly do that just to quickly show you because I think that's quite a good one to quickly show. So save, you'll see on save, you can save a record but also save and deploy, but we're just saving it in this aspect and it's just loading at the top. This is when it's doing the forced refresh to the users. And if I just go into an account quickly, and this is when you want the system, this is when it's doing the loading. Like I said, it's doing that refresh. Shall we go? And we go into a record, you'll see that we've got customer. Because we've got customer, if we go to blank, industry goes. Can you see that there? If we go to analyst, it's not there. But if we go to customer, I now have these three different options. If I go to investor, I have these two options. So you can really start to go, okay, based on that one drop-down list, depending on what they're interested in here, they're going to see different things here. So you can really start to take a user down a garden path and putting the right data in, depending on those dependents, if that makes sense. Anything to add there, Nord?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's also a really good way to keep your drop-down list clean, keep your user interface clean, so then users don't get overwhelmed with so much data and so much information that they have to find and scroll through. I think it's really good. And again, to make it so much easy rather than building a whole formula and everything like that, you could easily do it with a nice GUI and just drag and dropping it into different sections.
One of the big ones here is close lost, isn't it? Dependent fields on closed lost, or closed one to be fair. Closed lost, what was a closed lost reason? Dependent field comes up and it gives you a list of reasons. What you can do is you can put a dependent on a dependent as well. So if you had a closed lost reason, was other, a text area would come up and gives the users the ability to write in that text area. So you can really take someone like it down that kind of that breadcrumb effect from a user perspective, using dependent fields. And obviously dependent fields based on formulas or drop downs. So formulas would be that because this field equals other, text area comes up. Okay. One of the other things here is calculate fields and required fields. So these two are really quite powerful. I love required fields. I'm in sales, so I like required fields because I like to say that because we're in prospecting, I want people to enter data. I want the sales to be able to enter the opportunities, values, expected close date. So, but the further they go on, if they get to qualification, I want more information. So I make the fields then required because they're at that stage. My new field is required. It's now required because of this. Required if it gets qualified. If it's in prospecting, it's not required. gets qualified, it's required. So you can take someone again down that kind of nurturing along a process of saying, because I want them to enter data to start with, but the further they get down a garden path, the more information I want, and required if is exactly that. And a really good way of doing it. And it's formula driven. So you can see when we bring up required if, it's the same as calculations, and the calculation value will bring it up in 2 seconds, but the same kind of situation where you can say that it's required if because industry or actually type count type is customer. And you can see that well, if I can actually use, so that would be kind of your formula here for a required if. If I'm right here, Nord,
You are.
correct me if I'm not. I'm right. Okay, perfect, cool. And if I press save, you can see that's now populated that in here. And let me close this box and we can go on to the next one. And this field would only be required as in industry if type is customer, as in if they're a customer. Okay. The other part is this calculate field. Again, you'll see formula, same kind of situation. We'll bring up formulas. You've got all your functions on the left-hand side down here, such as sums, roll-ups, everything's down here, to be perfectly honest here. And you can choose sugar fields on the right-hand side. We'll go into a different field to show this, so because it doesn't really work very well with a drop down to be fine, does it? North can't really do calculators on a drop down.
No, you can't. You can make it so it goes to a certain value depending on other values, obviously calculation, making it
Yeah.
calculated, but it's more difficult because you have to use, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's database name rather than display label name, I think, when it comes
Uh,
to calculate
yeah.
values.
I'm not 100% sure on that one. Yeah,
I
not
think
100% sure on that one.
another on this page, I think there's two good options that I think a lot of people miss are audit.
Yeah.
So within Sugar, in mostly every single record, there's an audit log, which certain fields are ticked audited by default, but I'm pretty sure newly created fields aren't ticked by default.
No, they're not.
But what audit log allows you to do is it will show you the field that was changed, who changed it, the change date, and the old value and the new value. So we can see here status was changed from in progress to new by Jim on the 20th of the 6th at 11:21 a.m. So we can from this we can see a massive audit of anything on this record with those fields ticked. I think that's really good again for auditing purposes, for ISO or anything like that. And then there's another section below that called personal information. So Sugar works alongside be make sure with GDPR and everything like that. So any fields that require personal information, so phone number, address, email, or any new fields that you create, you can tick that and it puts everything in this personal information section. But as well in Sugar, there's a data privacy module. So when you push a record to data privacy, let's say they've sent a request to have all their data deleted. Any fields that are ticked personal information and it gets pushed through data privacy, it wipes those fields out and it wipes the value out of the database as well. So it fully deletes that information going forward with that request that they've sent to have all the information deleted. So if you work with a lot of sensitive information and you're inputting that in your system, you can tick those fields to be personal information. So again, if they request that data to be removed, with one click, all of that data is wiped from your system. And instead of displaying the value, it will show you a black box and it says data privacy, data removed. So you know that that was removed due to a request for the data to be removed.
Yeah, and you put that into your data privacy officer or something like that. So you'd set up a workflow that upon a SAR coming in, a subject access request, have a workflow that takes that record, that person to that person to delete. Because the beauty about Sugar is it doesn't remove the history or the lead sources or anything. It literally puts a black line for it, kind of a marker pen for it. So your reporting doesn't change. But obviously the personal data then goes away. And you'd have a workflow, but I hope you'd have a workflow that emailed that person, said, you're 1128, for instance. If you ever want to get in contact, you're 1128. Your data has been deleted, because at that point of deletion, the users and the admin users don't know them. They've gone from the system, if obviously it's gone from the DPO in the right manner. Okay. Cool. Okay, so you'll see a couple of other parts at the bottom here, allow imports. If that's not selected, when you go into imports on the right hand side down here, will not appear. And the last one is duplicate merge. If you wanted, obviously, if this was a field that you wanted to utilize as a possible duplicate checker, that's where you'd go into. Okay. Right, okay, so let's come out of this field quickly. So obviously we've gone into industry. We've been playing with industry. We've been looking at type, depending on type, industry on type. One of the things that we haven't looked at is the actual how you get into views. So you'll see that we have layouts and we have record card view, list view, record view dashlet, preview view. We've got loads of views here. Pop-up view with list view and pop-up search view, and then we've got some search views. So we have lots of different views, as well as sub-panel views. So underneath sugar, when we're looking at a record again, if I just go bring up Nors as I'm picking on him, you'll see these are the sub-panels underneath. These are your sub-panel views. So when we're looking at these are your sub-panel views. And if I go into these sub-panel views, I'd be able to say, what fields do I want to display here on those sub-panel views? Okay, so let's go into the views. The most common one is record card view. What's this one here at the top? Okay, and in record card view, you'll see some options. Okay, so what options are we inside Sugar? We can have one column or two column. There are some plugins that allow you to do up to 4 columns, but our default we've got 1 and 2. Okay, and you'll see that it's very much drag and drop, like we said, low code, no code. Pull that out, put it in the bin, or put it back in and put it where you want it. So if I don't want, for instance, description, I can throw it in this bin and it takes it out. I've got 2 options here, new panel and new row. So a panel is this show more. So it's kind of a box. So I can put it and stuff into a box. So if I wanted to create a box, you can see that. Then I have 2 fillers. And then I can look for my description down here, pull it across and put it into one of those fillers, as you can see here. And then I can simply plus that open to show that description going all the way across, or just having it onto a single column if I wanted to. On that box itself, you can see that it says new panel 1. I could change that here as well. And you'll also see that we've got some options here, collapse, panel and tab. And what does panel and tab mean, Nord?
So panel is if you go to a record for me, please. So you can see here where it says show more, for example, in last activity summary, those are panels. So you're able to split data up on the main view, and you can split everything up into different sections, or as Sugar calls it, panels. And then the next option is tabs. So if Joe, if you don't mind just changing one to a tab and then deploying it.
Yeah, there we go. So employ again, we're going to have that refresh like we said. So it's going to reload that screen because this is a web page at the end of the day. So it's going into it now.
You're also in the wrong module. Could you please go to it?
See, this is why you're here. There we go. Thank you.
So you can see here we have business card and then we have show more. So what a tab does is it breaks up everything and puts it in a whole other, I want to call it a page, but it's not technically a web page. It's just splitting it
A
up
tab.
a whole other tab. Yeah, a tab.
Losing the name.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I should use a tab. But yeah, it's just ways for you to organize your layout and just organize the data as well, not make it too overwhelming, everything on one page. That's good. Something as well, because that show more is a tab, it pushes that last activity panel onto that tab page. So it does a hierarchy order depending on how you set it up.
Yeah, it's quite a nice touch that is because sometimes people feel it's all going to be underneath this page. But you can see new panel is here, but the show more is has the last activity under here. So it's a nice way of cleaning up the actual areas themselves. On here as well, you'll see that we have pen marks across everything. Again, this is about another way of changing the terminology of those fields themselves. If I click on one, you'll see I get my website and I can change the wording of that particular field if I wanted to. We've also got another option here, as in the standard layout. So these are layout changes. So I can change different views and different ways of looking at sugar depending on the role set. So if they're in sales, I may want a couple of new fields, for instance, or they may not need to see certain fields. But if they're in a data privacy manager, for instance, they may need to see a different view. And we can pick and choose what they are depending on the role set. Okay. And roles in Sugar are kind of what is your job function when it comes to CRM. Okay. Drop down is slightly different. We can choose different views depending on the drop down. So based on type being customer, we want to see these fields here. Based on view being competitor, we want to see these fields here. So drop down field is also quite cool based on the actual view itself, and it works well to be perfectly honest. Okay, so that's kind of what you can do with inside layouts. Like I said, new panes if you wanted them, new rows if you want them, fillers. If you see a filler, you can pull in your fields. If you've got a creative field, it's going to appear on this list, and then you can simply pull it in or remove it. So if you've got fields that are default fields, I think there's a Dunn's number what comes sometimes comes up. You can remove it out if you wanted to. Okay. And that's going to apply to every single person in the system, so be aware. Okay. So let's just lay out. Oh, one thing what I didn't cover there, Nord, was save and deploy. What's the difference? And these ones here.
So save allows you to save any layout changes you've done, but not deploy it across the system. So
Why
you,
would you do that?
all right, put me on the spot. I was about to say. Um, you might want to do that again if you're doing this on your live system, you might want to do some changes, but not deploy out until maybe after work or when again your allocated time slot. It just allows you to save changes temporarily, save and deploy, push the changes live out to all users. View history. So if Joe clicks view history for me, we see a history of timestamps of when we've made changes to this layout and we've saved them. So again, if let's say you deploy a layout, it's not how you particularly wanted it to be, you can always go back and roll it back to your last previous deployment or how far the record history view goes. And then your next button is restore default layout. That just resets the layout back to what it would look like out of the box.
Yeah. So very easy to kind of manage this area. And this is kind of the main area where people come into when we come to Sugar is this base kind of record card view. And record card view, when we're looking at it, is this view here, okay? So it's every time you go into a module and you go into any record, this is your record card view. This is your layout view, what we're looking at here, okay? Right. If we go down here, list view is your list view, such as, oh God, if I don't click on bookmarks. If we go into a list view, this is your list views, left to right. And you'll see that we've got multiple different list views here, and we can pick and show as a user what fields we want. So this is what comes standard out of the box. And you can see that left-hand side, this is my default. People don't have an option. They have to see these fields. These are my available. So when I click on those three dots, what fields are available, what may not be shown, but are available to be shown. And then these are my hidden. I simply drag them over to where they need to be. It's as simple as that. And save and deploy, again, save and deploy, view history again, what Nord just said. We've got audit history of the different changes, and then restore to Sugar's default. Okay, so it's very easy. Maybe I've got industry that needs to be here, save and deploy. And if I save and deploy on this and go into a related organization, an account, and just waiting for it to load again, you'll see that me and Nord love the loading screen. And you'll see that if I actually went into that, you'll see industry is now here in this column. And as a user, I can move this around. I don't have to keep this kind of this choice of column. It's just for the admins to give the users the ability to have that industry. And again, if I don't want it, I can hide it out or as a user show it. It's really quite powerful in that aspect. Record view dashlet. What am I looking at here? Why am I looking at this? Where's this nod?
The record view dashlet is if you go into a list view for me and you open up the focus drawer, there's
Ah,
a dashlet for record view. And then with that dashlet, you can basically customize what the view is within that dashlet. So here we can see here we have website, industry, member of, type, etc., etc. So if you modify that layout, it modifies the view of this dashlet. So this dashlet can be added again in focus drawer, or it can be added, I'm pretty sure in the record side view, if it looks to anything related.
yeah, so it's quite powerful because you may not want War and Peace in this view. In the focus drawer, you just may want maybe context. You don't need everything. So you can, because obviously the focus drawer is about quick and easy displaying the information at the right time and be able to tab through the various different modules if you needed to. So maybe you don't need the same view as what you do in the record view. In the focus drawer, you may not need that view. Preview view is slightly different. Preview view is when we're looking at the list of accounts and we click on that little eyeball on the right-hand side. This is our preview view. You can see it over here on the right-hand side. And again, we can simply go through the accounts to quickly go through them if we wanted to. And that preview view, again, a bit like our layouts. It's a single column, as you can see, but we can simply add and put the fields we want or remove which ones we don't want to see. And this works again on our roles, our drop downs, etc. Again, we have the same options as what Nord said a moment ago. Okay. Pop-up views, list and search. These are when you're going, maybe looking for related records or looking for related information. You can pick and choose what information is going to be shown for you to then ascertain if it's a record you need to see or not. And again, it's the same as the list view, right to left. Pull it in. Oh God, pull it in if you want it, and again, save and deploy it. And that's the same with the search. Exactly the same situation. It'll come up with right to left again. Okay. This search function is quite big. It's the same kind of function, but you cannot use these filters and your fields will not be there unless you put them in the search functions here.
It's
Okay.
basically adding fields to your search feature. So then
Yes.
fields you create won't automatically get added to the
No.
search. You have to manually add those in.
Exactly. And look, that's a big thing what we find in the help desk is I can't see my field. I've just created a new field, can't see it in search. It's because you simply haven't added it right to left into search. And if you do, it will appear in the top here and you will simply have the option to then search on your new field. Okay. And that is simply as that. Obviously, the filtering system inside Sugar is extremely good because then you can save the filters to come back to existing ones if you wanted to then give you the right information at the right time. So it is really powerful in that aspect. Okay. Right. Okay. Subpanels underneath, these are what I was talking about. If you're in the record view list, you'll see the subpanels underneath, these subpanels under here. And if we've got the subpanels underneath, sometimes you don't want to see certain information. So calls, for instance, you can see that if I go calls, again, I have the ability to see every single field in calls and the ability to pull it through. If I pull it through, it's going to appear under here. So if I was in accounts, for instance, and I went into contacts, you'll see that these are the fields: name, town, city, county, any email and office. Are the same one here: name, town, city, county, and email of office. Again, you'll see the users have the ability to pick and choose what they want to see. So as an admin, I can choose what I think they want to see, but they can then go and say what they actually want to see. And again, move the orders of those columns. And again, move the actual modules themselves to where they want them to be based on their job type and role. Okay, they have the ability to do that. Okay, so that's subpanels. We then come into mobile. This is the reason why we're going for this just on the accounts is because it's the same on every module. So if I go calls, you'll see the same standard kind of layouts. So although we're concentrating mostly on accounts, It's the same everywhere. Accounts is kind of your master, so it's the easiest one for us to show you. Okay. So mobile, Sugar has a mobile, iOS, Apple, and Android offline capabilities as well. So you do not want, as a salesperson, as a user of the mobile app, to see everything. I do not want to see every single field in the mobile app because it's just not good. So don't do that to users. Choose what you want them to see, and again, you'll see the same common kind of function, same functions on the left-hand side. Put in a row, put what you want them to see, remove what they don't need to see on the mobile app. Remember, they've only got a screen size of X, so on the mobile app, you're thinking of what is necessary and what is not necessary. Dependent fields and calculated fields do work on mobile app, so they will come up if someone selects something. So you can really use the functions of the mobile app to actually show you what you want to see. Really powerful when it comes to it. Sugar's mobile app is offline capable as well, so it again works in the same manner. The last one, what I want to cover quickly because I know I've got 10 minutes or 9 minutes now, is timeline. Timeline is really powerful. It's quite a new function actually. When the timeline came out, it was like 13, 14? Can't remember actually.
I want to say it came out in 13, right?
Yeah, I think it was 13, maybe last year. Maybe last year. Yeah. But this part came last year. Let's put it this way. Timeline may not have come last year, but timeline enables you. So when what we're talking about timeline is this bit here, okay? Okay, this bit here. So to get this bit is you go down here to add dashlet and you look for timeline. Okay, and you'll see that timeline is now on every single module, including your custom modules. Okay, so you can pick and choose what appears on your timeline, whether calls on accounts, obviously, do calls, cases created, do new contacts get created on that timeline, leads, member organization, opportunities, so that when you're looking at a timeline, and I'm going to save that quickly, you'll see that it's just saved. And I refresh this, you'll now see opportunities are in my timeline.
So it's a good it's a good dashlet to see
It's kind
anything happening on that account that's or any record actually or any module in a chronological order.
It's great for kind of your Facebook newsfeed of what's been happening with that account or that record. Because, like you say, it could be any record. The beauty about timeline, you may have any record, whether it's one you've created yourself or not, being coming through to that timeline. So these are the functions. We've kind of gone through every single function in Studio here. Is there anything we've missed, Nord, what you can think of?
Um, no, I think that's for the main bit of studio. I think everything's kind of been spoken about. I
Yeah.
can't think of anything else, like maybe anything different.
No, I can't think of anything. Has anyone got we got any questions to go through? I can see we've got about 7 minutes left, so let's go through the Q&As if we've got any, if anyone's asked any questions at all. Emily, oh,
I don't see any questions, so I'm assuming that must
I don't
mean
think we
we
have any.
we must have been that good. No one asked any questions. Right, no problems. So if you do have any questions, please come back to me and ask. This kind of studio functions, if you create a new module from Studio and you create, so inside of Studio again, if I go admin, I've got 7 minutes to do this. You've got this thing called Module Builder. So if you want to create your new modules, maybe expenses or another module, because Sugar is kind of, yes, you get these default modules, but you may have another module where you need to create a new package, and this one's got orders, for instance. So somebody's created an orders module for this system, and that orders module contains a particular field set, and these are the fields you can deploy. It's exactly the same. So the field management, everything is the same as what we just showed you on Studio. You can add new fields, you can change the layouts, the relationships. One thing we didn't do is relationships, Nord. We
right
didn't
now.
go through relationships quickly. So let's quickly go for relationships quickly. Very quickly on relationships. Studio, accounts, relationships. So what are relationships? So you'll see at a default, the relationships inside of, this is organizations, you'll see we have three different types: many to many, one to many, and one to one. And we can add custom relationships or existing relationships. And you can see that we've got the options here. Um, and we can pick and choose if we wanted to add a new relationship. Maybe we've got consultants. We need to create a new accounts um, relationship to existing accounts. That sounds really strange, but this one is actually not. They're consultants. Does that make sense? Consultants who work for on behalf of these accounts. We can choose what the subpanel looks like and press the save and deploy. And that will simply create another, when we go into 5D investments in about 2 minutes, underneath that, we'll see a new subpanel, what says consultants, what's blank, what enables us to then choose many consultants against the existing account. The reason why it takes a little bit longer on this one because it has to build a relationship in the backend database to do this. So it probably around about 20 seconds to do this. But this would be if you've got, like I said, if you've got core, if you're trying to do things like this, or I'm just trying to figure out different scenarios that you could use here in order relationships.
Regarding relationships,
Yeah,
well, let's say if you make if you make a new module, and let's say it was orders, for example, like that one there, you may want to link orders to accounts. So you would
yeah.
build, let's say if it's one order to one account, it's a one to one. If it's many accounts to one order, let's say you have a stockpile of, I'm going to say 20 plushies, you can then let's say here's my 20 plushie orders, and you can link the accounts to those. That'd be a one to many. And then you'll be able to see, you'll get your sub panel like Joe has put there. And
And
you'll
I can select existing consultants. I can say these companies are consultants of this company here. So you can see that's what we do some relationships. We've got about 3 minutes ago. Is there anything else what we need to cover? Oh, quickly, action buttons. We didn't cover action buttons. So yes, there's 20 different types of fielding sugar. Again, studio, again to the module, again to the fields. And if I go add fields, you'll see the 20 different types of field here. One of them is action button. Action button allows you to create these kind of really kind of funky kind of buttons at the top. And if I go into accounts again and go into 5D, you'll see one up here. This is an action button. So you can see that I've got different buttons at the top here, depending on, so create NDA, but we'll create a DocuSign in this case, send to finance, we'll create an action or create a contract. We'll simply just go into create contract. These action buttons can be completely tested and configured to how you want to be. So give it a name, choose what you want it to be, doc merge, create a new record, compose an email, open the URL, run a report, and choose what mod you want to be on and how you want to display it. This actually will be in the Halloween one because action buttons should be on the Halloween one. So we'll create some funky Halloween action buttons. So our next webinar is when, Emily? Put Emily on the spot.
Let me double check. It should be the last Tuesday of every month. So
Okay.
end of October.
Fine, so
Pretty sure it's the 28th of October, same time, 10:30.
perfect. 28th of October, we'll be covering reports, we'll be covering action buttons, roles, and we'll be looking at some of those other scary bits in the admin area so far. Unless anyone has obviously suggestions, please put them to marketing at enable.services. And what you'd love us to cover, and we'll show you how we can. But thank you so much for your time today.
Joe, we have one question.
One question. Go for it.
We have accounts that may be a member of more than one organization. Is it possible to show them to be a member of more than one organization? I'm pretty sure there's a sub panel on account
There is.
called member organization.
There is a member of. So if you see here, you've got member of here. And if you use member of, you can either see member of here, what would be what the parent, but underneath you'll also see member of down here somewhere. I can't see it. There it is, member organizations. So if you do that, that comes as default, as member organizations. The reason why you'd use that is because the functionality called hierarchy, where it is suite hierarchy, there it is, comes out of default. And you can see that that uses the member of functionality to give you that kind of mapping. And you can then pick and choose how that views. And you can actually have that on the right hand side as well, using or using dashlets if you wanted to use that.